Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic / Non-Classic. This is episode number 729 and Doubleshot number 633. I got two Marvel trades and they're both X-Men related. First up, which is a very controversial story. New XMen Academy X. If you're wondering about this particular thing, what's the controversy on this thing? Released in 2003, 2004. Yep, written by Grant Morrison and artwork by Phil Jimenez. What is the controversy surrounding this thing? Well, one is due to this character. You think this is Magneto, but actually it is not. Well, the way it was written at the time, this is what Grant Morrison wanted Magneto to be. But after he left, Marvel Editorial retconned this and saying, nope, this was never Magneto at all. This was Zorn posing as Magneto. Yeah, it's confusing. You have Zorn, who they're viewed to be Magneto posing as Zorn, and yep, it's Zorn. Yeah, it's very confusing. Another, of course, is his attire. This is not a traditional Magneto outfit. This outfit is actually taken from, believe it or not, the X-Men live-action films. Yeah. Sir Ian McKellen, this is the outfit he wore in the film. A little surprised they decided to do this. Of course, when this comic came out, get this, 1 year prior, X2 XMen United came out. Of course, there's other controversial things besides the whole thing with Magneto himself. Like, I don't know, capturing Xavier and somehow taking the time to strip him butt naked and put him like a big tube with water. Oh yeah, I gotta praise Phil Jimenez for censoring the man's groin and butt crack with bubbles. Not kidding, he does that in here. Plus, also, Magneto does some strange things, like getting high on a drug called Kick. Now, those of you who don't know what the heck Kick is, it's a drug that was established in not Grant Morrison's new X-Men run. No, this is a creation of Chuck Austin. Yep, Chuck Austin is the one who created this thing. Yep, and Magneto is not the only person to get high on this thing. Quentin Hire got high on it during the Red Xavier storyline, which is actually a really dang good storyline. This, meanwhile, the other major controversy at the time was released was the whole thing of Magneto leading a bunch of people who are not mutants to an incinerator. Not kidding about that. He leads a group of people into an incinerator. Plus, also, he destroys all the bridges of New York and just causes these tubes to fly over the place. Okay, I have a very good question exactly for this storyline. It's New York City. There are a ton of superheroes around. Where the heck is Spider-Man and the Avengers? I mean, when the storylines come out, this is before Bendis' Disassemble storyline, so where the heck are the Avengers, and where is Spider-Man in all this? It's like Grant Morrison didn't bother to put anybody who was not an X-Men related character in this storyline. That's my biggest gripe with it, is that none of the other Marvel Universe characters are actually in this storyline. No Spider-Man, no Avengers, not even the Fantastic Four are in this storyline. I'm not kidding about this. They're nowhere to be seen at all. Yeah, it's weird. Despite the fact that you have these three major characters who are very heavily active in New York City at this point in time. By the way, what happened in here? Is this brought up in some of the other Marvel books? Nope. Not that I could think of. Of course, when I came out reading the comic, this story was already released. Yep, I came on after the story came out. Yeah. And plus, also, the Xavier Institute is partially destroyed, and also another one of the Stepford Cuckoos gets killed off in the storyline. The first one who died was actually during the events of Riot Xavier's. The other one dies in here. Yep. Oh yeah, and by the way, it's also this very storyline that Grant Morrison kills off Jean Grey. Yep, kills off Jean Grey. And stays dead. Not joking about that. She stays dead for a long time. Probably by far one of the longest deaths I've actually seen since I've been reading comic books. You know how long she was dead for? 13 years. Not a year or two. It's like, okay, some people think like a year to break. No. Marvel, this is one thing that you gotta praise Marvel for doing this. They actually had this death stick. It stuck. It wasn't undone within like a month or within like a couple weeks, like they did with Black Widow, though that was never explained. That would be a clone. In the case of that, she stayed dead until the Resurrection of Jean Grey miniseries that came out last year by Matthew Rosenberg. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also throughout the whole storyline, Magneto is going nuts over the Zorn helmet. Yeah, he goes freaking nuts. I think the Zorn helmet's talking to him. Though I'm a little curious, though, exactly. Oh, yeah, and by the way, Chuck also sort of apologized for Zorn by creating another Zorn and revealing he's actually this guy's twin brother. Not joking about that. Okay, when in the world did Magneto take the time to strip Charles Xavier butt naked? Yeah, when did he take the time to do that? Apparently this was done off panel, and why in the world, if this was Magneto, why would he do this for? He actually has done this before to Charles Xavier, held him captive like this. He did it Eve of Destruction, which was released, believe it or not, 4 years prior to this story. Yeah, he did it 4 years prior. And a lot of people are like, really? Magneto did this again? Because a lot of that stuff Magneto was so out of character, that's the reason for the stupid retcons they did for him. Which, yeah, by the way, this story was actually referenced at least twice since this storyline happened. It was referenced in the first arc for Astonishing X-Men by Cyclops, when he was Cyclops, conversation between Cyclops and Nick Fury, where Nick Fury is like, yeah, Magneto was one who turned New York to pretzel. And Cyclops, you must watch on TV about the massacre in Genosha. Yeah, it was also the kid claiming, oh yeah, apparently Magneto was dead. Somehow killed in Genosha, despite the fact in Eve of Destruction, he got stabbed by Wolverine. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, and also Phantom X plays a small role in this story. Yeah, Phantom X. You gotta praise Grant Morrison for actually about to use the character. Also, for some reason, after the destruction of the Weapon Plus facility, Wolverine ends up on Asteroid M of all things. Okay. Though this looks completely different from a lot of different Asteroid M's. Yeah, the last Asteroid M Magneto had was back in the early 90s. Yeah, it had been at this point for a little over 10 years. Of course, after the storyline wrapped up, guess what this storyline later led to? Well, at the end of it had led into the final arc that Grant Morrison did in the series, Here Comes Tomorrow, but also led to a sort of a backdoor pilot into the short-lived Excalibur comic book that was released not long after this thing, which lasted for 14 issues, forming canceled to make room for House of M. Yep. Of course, also the miniseries also was the start of the retcons of Magneto being alive. Heck, Magneto was actually questioned about this in the 535.1. He says, "That's not me. That's an imposter." Yeah, this is probably Kieran Gillen probably doing it just stuff. Yeah, this is an imposter. Yeah. I gotta say, this is actually okay. It's not a terrible story per se. It's a decently well told story. Full of a lot of excitement because you have freaking Magneto showing up. At least they didn't bother to use this character for a good few years. Got praise Marvel for doing that. But here's kind of the thing: after House of M, Magneto does not do much of anything after House of M until X-Men 500. Yeah, so he waits a good 2 years to finally get involved with House before he get involved with the X-Men again. Pretty decent storyline. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. The only reason I give 9.5 is because of this Magneto letting people into Incinerator. Alright, next up is Generation X Classic Volume 1. Collecting Uncanny X-Men 316 to 318. Uncanny X-Men Volume 2, 37, 36, 37. The first 4 issues of Generation X comic book. The Ash Can edition and material from the collected edition for Generation X. Everything in here is mostly written by Scott Lobdell. Yep, Scott Lobdell writes the Generation X issues, along with the 2 Uncanny X-Men issues. The X-Men issues are done by Fabian Nicieza. The artwork for Ken X-Men is with Joe Mandarnia. Those of you who recognize the guy's art, know this guy's name. Yeah, he's the guy who did the artwork for Ultimates 3. The artwork for X-Men Volume 2 for the X-Men issues, the Adjectives X-Men issues, that's done by Andy Kubert. The second, Joe Mandarnia does the first 2 Ken X issues. The last one is done by Roger Cruz. The artwork for the first 4 issues of Generation X, that's done by Chris Bocciolo. Yeah. Now look at this cover. You might recognize about 3 or 4 characters in this cover. Yeah, the one in the yellow trench coat, Jubilee. We also have Banshee, Emma Frost, the guy with a mouth, that's frickin' Chamber. He made his debut in the series. This red woman on the cover, that's Pennant. Sex cover for issue 2. And this guy here, Angelo. Yeah, the same guy who got killed off in that storyline, that 2-part awful storyline from Chuck Austin's run for King X-Men. Holy War. Yeah, the same 2-parter that Linkara did is his first ever 2-part he ever did for his show. Let me think. This guy here. Yeah, they actually list names of the characters in the back. I can find him here. My apologies for that. Let's see if I can find him here. I know it's here. Let's see. They have like a whole thing of like who the students are. Okay, the guy with the black guy with we also have he also have Monette. She makes debut in the series. Angelo, aka Skin. The later dies like a decade later. I'm sure Liddell wasn't happy with that. The guy in the cover, his name is Everett Thomas, and his name is Snatch. We also have Mondo, who's got this big, huge feet. He's kind of a Beast ripoff. We also have Husk, who is Cannonball's sister from the New Mutant series. We have Penance, that's this character here on the cover. Let's see. Yeah, I think that's it. Also, the series in the first 4 issues, and like in the very first issue, we have debut of this character. Those of you familiar with this character from the storyline from X-Men Legacy, as far as Italian for Nation X, you will recognize this guy and his sidekick. Let's see if I can find him here. I know that the first issue is his debut appearance. Let's see here if I can find him. I know he's Monette's brother. Yeah. Here he is. M-Plate. That's him. Monette's brother. He's not the only one who makes his debut in these issues. Yeah. Of course, we also have the first appearance of the character Chamber, who actually joined Generation X this very issue. Yep. Let's see if I can find his trusty sidekick. Let's see here. Where is he? His sidekick's here he is. The first appearance of the character DOA, Dead on Arrival. Yep. Yeah. The thing with this character M-Plate, he would occasionally appear over the years. I mean, he was a recurring villain for Generation X. And then for some reason, I'm not sure why, Mike Carey decided to dig this guy up, make him a villain for one story arc. Then he disappeared, never to be seen again, until he showed up in Colin Bunn's and Ken X-Men run, where he kind of merged with Monette for some reason. And of course, they kind of fixed that with the second volume of Generation X, released just last year. The series that had fantastic storytelling, but awful interior artwork. Yep, the one where all the characters look like horses. No joke, they look like freaking horses. Yeah. In the case of Generation X, they're a great group of characters. The original Generation X, this version, actually made an appearance in an issue of X-Men Blue. Yeah, Colin Bunn decided to have this lineup basically show up for a quick cameo. Chamber is still semi-active. He doesn't do very much, but last time he appeared with Generation X, Jubilee was still active even after the series ended. If you're wondering how long the series lasted for, it was 75 issues, and the series had about a couple different rares. One was definitely Scott Lobdell. The other was James Robinson. Yeah, he actually wrote the series a good period of time. Had a few annuals. I think it was like one shot. I think it was like a couple one shots. I think that was it during the course of the series. But at least a few of the characters got their own spin-off series. Penance herself actually showed up for Runaways as part of the group Excelsior, who was the group funded by Rick Jones. Jubilee has had over the years a couple miniseries of her own. Banshee has never had one. Emma Frost did have one after the series ended. And I know, in fact, Chamber had a miniseries in 2001. Actually, a really good miniseries. I highly recommend it. It was released as part of the whole Icons thing during the period of time when the X-Men were wearing costumes all made of leather. Monette, yep, those of you remember her from the Peter David run, yeah, this is where she showed up first. I do recommend people check this out, people fans Peter David who love Monette in there. Check out her early appearances. Basically, thanks to these 4 issues, you get the debut of Jubilee. Pretty much like every character except for Banshee and Emma Frost all make a debut of issues that appear in this trade. I give this book a 9.5 out of 10. Whatever you anything, if there, I don't think there's another volume for Generation. I know there's Origin Generation X, yes, but I don't think there's a I think there might be another. Let me look it up here. I know the series was briefly replaced for Age of Apocalypse with Generation Next, which that was the tagline for the storyline for how this group came about. Was it was a crossover going with Phalanx. Excuse me, and this kind of basically started Generation X program, which kind of the 90s version of the Mutants, but a little bit more cooler. But it just is really interesting. Yep. Here we go. Yeah. There is actually one other Generation X classic, and it doesn't contain very much. It just contains issues 5 to 11, the annual, the first one, San Diego Preview. That's it. There's a few other Generation X trades. There's a couple ones for Counter X, which kind of ended the series. Yeah, Counter X was the initiative launched by Marvel in the early 2000s. I think it was like in the late 90s, prior to the cancellation of the comic book itself. Yeah, it's sort of a rebranding. It failed. From what I've heard, yeah, it failed miserably. They trying to do a revamp. Yeah, it didn't do too well, so the revamp was canceled. Yeah, it was also part of the whole Revolution thing. Was right after the series. It didn't last very long either. No, surprisingly, it didn't. The only thing it did do was cause Generation X and X-Men get canceled. X-Force got revamped even after this with X-Static with Mike Aldred on the artwork. Yep. Yeah, but this is fantastic. Those of you familiar with Lobdell, thanks to the Teen Titans series, think that probably his elements he used here are similar. Not exactly, no. It's different ideals. It's teenagers, yes. But here, he actually has adults here in here. 2 long-stay characters of the X-Men franchise. Okay? So yeah, that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode, which is episode number 730 and Doubleshot number 634. And that one will cover 2 Batman traits. Yep, you'll find out what they are in the next episode, okay? But to see you there, bye.